If you're looking to understand how required columns work within Monday.com, then join us in this tutorial and I'll show you exactly how this new feature works within Monday.com.
Hi, my name is Tara, and I'm a certified Monday.com partner and the founder of Simple Day. My goal is to help you build powerful yet simple workflows with Monday.com. If you need help with a custom implementation, my contact details are in the description below. Let's jump into today's tutorial and make Monday the best part of your week.
I'm really excited to be jumping into this new feature of required columns. It's something that many people have asked for as a feature on Monday.com, and I'm so happy that Monday finally released this. So let's jump into work management and see how this works. Now, I do want to say that there is a different kind of required columns. It's more like conditions within the CRM, and I'm going to review that at the end of this video as well. Here you can see I am on a regular task board within task management. Now, before required columns, what I would do is I would just enter a task. Let's just say create a new YouTube video, enter the task, and it would be there. And then I can choose whichever columns I want to fill in. Let's say I want to add the status. So I would just change status to not started. Now, what required columns does is it allows me to choose certain columns that I have to fill in when I'm creating an item. So if we choose this status column, I'm going to click on these three dots, go to settings, and go to set column as required. Now you can see this little red star has shown up, which is a pretty standard, I guess, emoji or icon that people see like in forms when things are required. So now what happens is if I'm going to take the same task, create a task. So you see that there's a pop-up instead of being able to add it directly onto this board. And I'm going to add my task, create a new YouTube video. And here I have to set the status. If I would hit create task, I would get an error of required column. So here I'm going to click not started and create task. And you can see when my task is created that it automatically comes in as not started. Now I can do this with a number of columns. So let's do this on the due date column as well. I'm going to set it as required. And again, if I want to create a task, you can see now I have the two required columns that I need to be filled out. Now, one thing that I want to point out is this little toggle over here that says show only the two required columns. So here what it's telling me is I have to add the task name, which would be over here, and I have to fill in these two columns. If I change this toggle, now all of the columns within my board are showing up here. So as an easy way to enter in all of the information on your board, you can have everything show up within this pop-up. It's kind of like a form, which just makes it a little bit easier to fill in the information. And then you can see over here what are required columns and what are not required columns. If you want to see if a column is required, so obviously you have this red dot over here, or star, I think it is. But if you click on the eye within each column, you also see that it tells you here in this like information about the column that users must fill in this column when creating new items or editing existing ones. So let's just say I want to edit this item. It's not letting me clear it, so there's nothing there. I would have to go and change it to something else. So what we're seeing in work management are two different ways to have required columns. One is when you're adding a new item that it almost has this form that pops up where you need to add in your required items. Or what you can do is when you're editing an item, it doesn't let you have a blank option. You always have to have something there if it's required. Now, we're going to jump into the CRM product. The CRM product doesn't have the same kinds of required columns that work management has, what we just reviewed. But in my mind, it is a kind of required column for certain actions. So let me show you what I mean. If I want to change a status, so I'm changing a label, I can put requirements on it saying, if you want to change the status to something, these columns have to be filled out. So it is, in a way, a required column, just not when you're adding a new item. Let's see how this works. If I click on these three dots, I click on settings, I have the option for change label conditions. Now I can say when label changes to qualified, Then I need to make sure that the email is required. And let's just say contact name is required. Make sure you hit apply and you'll see that it's set up here. Now, if I want, I can add another condition. Let's just say when it changes to contact in, I also need to make sure that company name is there. So what I've done is I've set conditions on the change of status in order to be able to do something within this board, meaning making sure certain columns are filled out. So let's see what happens. I have an automation on this board that when status changes to qualified, move an item to the qualified leads. Now, you can see that company name is not filled out, and I'm not going to fill out email either. Okay, so they're both empty here. And remember, those were our two required labels. So I'm going to change this to qualified. And what I have is I have a pop-up telling me that I need to fill in email and company name. So I'm going to do this. And I'm going to hit save. And now you can see it was able to change the status qualified, and it pushed it to the qualified group. Here she is. So this is just a different kind of required column because you need information to be filled out in order to do an action. A lot of times this is linked to automations. I'll give you a great example of a company that we work with that this is perfect for. So this company is a medical device company, and they actually sell a sock that has a certain medical device in it. And in order to ship out the medical device or the sock, they need to have the sock size because you need to know what size you're sending out. And a lot of times the team members forget to add in the sock size. So we set up a label, this change label condition that if you want to change the label to shipped, you have to make sure that that column of sock size is filled out, essentially making you have required columns. So these are two different ways that you can use required columns within Monday.com, one in work management and one in the CRM. If you're curious about the CRM because it's a newer product to Monday, then check out this next video in the link above where you can see a basic tutorial about the Monday.com CRM. Thanks so much for joining.
Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and remember to subscribe to receive tips and tricks on how to use Monday.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.